Okay, so I'm BTC Zelko, or just Zelko is fine. I'm going to talk to you guys about something that you're not going to hear at the rest of the Swan event. Hopefully more people trickle in, because honestly, this is going to be more interactive, right? Which is good. It's a small group. I honestly would rather actually work with all of you. So can all of you actually participate as I'm like asking questions and go through? Is everyone good with that? I got 1 thumbs up. I got 2. I'll take 3 and 4. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Hash. I got it. All right. So Bitcoin is something that we actually need to use, right? It's great that we have this philosophical sound money machine, right? But if we're not using it, if we're not preparing for this world where fiat's no longer a standard, and fiat is no longer the standard, we need to be prepared, right? So I'm going to talk about some tools that you need to start using and get familiar with. So this may be a review for some of you who are a little bit more advanced. All right, and then for those of you who have never used Bitcoin other than sending it to your hardware wallet, this is going to start to introduce those concepts to you, okay? So I got 3 questions just to find out where you guys are at. So I got the 2 screens so you guys can see them. All right, so 1, right, spending. Now these are kind of like threat model type questions, right? So when we're buying, right, we're spending Bitcoin and we're paying someone in Bitcoin, right? Whether that's Bitrefill, whether that is a t-shirt company, whether that's you're spending Bitcoin on beef sticks, which you should do because we support our local beef owners. All right, but if you're doing that, what risks do we have? So someone raise your hand and I want to hear it. I'll jump down and come talk to you because I think it's fun. All right, come here. I got you. What is one of the threat models that you'd be worried about?
So if you're spending, the merchant can see whatever UTXOs are involved in the spend. That's one thing.
Right. So we're worried about what UTXOs that we spend, and then from there, what? I'll repeat it. Like the history, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that what you're going to say? Exactly. The balance history, right? What goes back? Bitcoin, everyone's familiar, right? Bitcoin is a transparent blockchain that shows the entire history of every single transaction that's ever happened ever, right? That's how we have accountability of how many Bitcoin that we have, right? Yes? All right, cool. And again, I need energy just because like I drove like 4 hours to get here and just to have fun, and so I need extra energy. The more energy you guys have, the more energy I'll have. All right, so, woo! That was super cheesy. That's okay. Cheesy's fun. All right, so that's exactly what I was getting at, right? We need to be worried about how do we spend, right? And what does the recipient know about us, right? Because we don't want, if I paid in cash, paid in cash, does that merchant know anything about me? No, right? What does Satoshi say in the actual white papers? What is Bitcoin supposed to be? Peer-to-peer digital cash. Peer-to-peer digital cash, it just happened to be that he designed it in a way that was sound money as well, all right? But if I can't use it as cash, and it's okay that you have to take that extra step, but we need to be thinking about it, right? So the next step would be receiving, right? How many people are actual Swan users here? It's okay if you're not a Swan user. Okay, perfect, right? And if you're not, you receive it in some way, right? Say you get paid. Is anyone paid in Bitcoin? All right, so when you're paid in Bitcoin, or you're receiving it from Swan, you're receiving it from an exchange, what could they know? Again, show of hand, I'll jump down and come talk to you because I think it's fun. What would be a threat model about receiving Bitcoin from another party? I got you right here. You got me?
If you're using the same address, they can have the same problem where they know how much money you have, how much Bitcoin you have.
Absolutely. So he said reusing the same address, right? Donation address is a huge issue solved by Bit47, right? Shout out. No, that's definitely one major concern. What else do we got? I know my man's got this.
Well, if you haven't thought in advance about what am I going to do with this UTXO when I come to spend it, maybe you've got too much in this one UTXO that you need to use to pay something, but you don't want to use it because you didn't think in advance enough about this. When it comes time to spend this, what I want to spend it on is not what I want to link it to.
Exactly. So he's to summarize, as CoinJoin said, is what am I have to worry about the future, right? They have a start point. So there's actually a really great podcast with, I think it's Watchmen Privacy and Samurai. I was listening on the way down here. And he talked about Bitcoin was designed in a way that made it was pseudonymous, right? It actually has a great privacy base. We like to think that there's no privacy base, but there actually is. The problem is metadata that's linked to us, right? Things that give any individual linking an identity to it. And so that threat model elevates up and down depending on who gets it, right? Chain analysis, right? They're going to start, these chain surveillance companies, they're going to start to get that, start to collect the data, right? They collect it and keep it. Whereas like you go peer-to-peer, yeah, I know it, but is a regular person going to like keep that transaction and look at all of them in the future? It's a risk, but is it as high as pulling off an exchange? Probably not, right? But it's a risk, right? Understanding the risks is very important as we move forward. Has to be something that we're thinking about in a world where Bitcoin is the standard. Everyone here wants Bitcoin to be the standard, yeah? Okay, so that's why we need to understand these tools, right? And then the last one is wallet balance. So I know there are some people who for sure have heard me talk and understand how wallet balances work. Can anyone else tell me why or how does your Bitcoin wallet, whatever you're using, tell you how much Bitcoin that you have? How does it give you that balance? Don't be afraid. I promise I don't bite. You guys saw me. I jumped down. I didn't bite anybody. Mr. Hash, my man.
It's the sum of the UTXOs which are derived from your master private key or public key.
And which is absolutely correct. And if you're not running your node, who's giving you that information?
Which is revealed to the node which you request the information from.
He's exactly right. That was way too smart of an answer because I'm not that smart. I'm a knuckle dragger, as I like to call myself. I to learn how to do everything at Ronin Dojo, I literally smashed my face on a keyboard until I figured it out. So to summarize that in a normal person terms, if it's not your node, right, that's telling you that how much Bitcoin that you have, someone else's node is doing that. So if someone else is telling you how much Bitcoin that you have, how much is available in your wallet, that would tell them how much money that you actually have. If I asked anybody here, how much money do you have in your bank account? How many people are going to tell me? It'd be a fat, don't lie to me. Don't raise your hand like you were going to. It'd be zero. Yeah, zero. Zero people would tell me how much money that they have in their wallet. So his comment was they would actually know where they got it from. And that would actually be correct. And so if you're corresponding your node balance, especially with a company that is correlating with or working with chain analysis or a surveillance company, they're then keeping every single time that you get a new address, you get anything, they're keeping that, right, and feeding it to those companies who can then plot out every single UTXO that's ever been and owned by every single person. Just think about it as in the world of cash, right? We would never want someone to tie every single dollar bill that we had to us, right? Just because I spend $20 at a gas station, right? And then that gas station person breaks change, gives it to somebody else. That person then gives it, goes to the strip club or whatever. And then now you are tied directly to that thing. Or, you can make it more illicit and say drugs or whatever it is. That's not how Bitcoin's supposed to work, right? But it's with the actual way that Bitcoin is designed, that's what happens, right? So we need to start taking steps in the right direction, all right? So that was our steps. And again, this is going to be basic. I'm going to try to be interactive. And the slides are just prompts. So there's not going to be a whole lot for you to read. And I did that intentionally, okay? So our first one that we talked about, right? The first problem we said was spending. So ways that we can avoid that, ways that we can make it not as easy is by using peer-to-peer, right? Coordinated coin joins, right? Stonewall X2 is one that's available in Sparrow Wallet and Samurai Wallet. More wallets are working on implementing these as well. That example on the left is Samurai Wallet post-mix. But so that's one, and I'm going to show a graph of what that actually looks like so you guys can see it. All right. Another one is Wrpool, and I'm sorry, back to number one. So we have Stonewall, Stonewall X2, which is the same thing, and then we also have stowaways, okay? And I'll show examples of all these so you guys can actually see it and visualize, right? Because understanding how you spend, understanding what it looks like on the blockchain is how you start to take those next steps. It's how you start to become an educated Bitcoiner and not just a buy and hold, right? Because eventually at some point, might not be now, might be in 10 years or whatever, but you want to know how to spend, especially if you have wealth. Like, I'm not going to ask anybody who's wealthy here, but if you have some degree of wealth, or the amount that you have in 10 years, 20 years, makes you a millionaire, billionaire, you know, a one coiner, two coiner, whatever they call it. You'll want to know how to spend your stuff correctly. All right. Solution 2 for how do I stop the people from knowing my future, right? I'm receiving Bitcoin. I don't want them to know what I spend my money on, right? From an employer, how many people get paid by someone in fiat or in Bitcoin? So whoever, it's okay if you don't have a job. That's okay too. But would you want your employer to be able to like say, okay, hey, I sent them this money on this address. Now let me see what they did with it, right? Like, oh, I see that you spent it to this exchange, or I see that you spent it on this address, which I then later found out was a, you know, insert bad thing there, right? You don't want them to know. That's your money. It's your business. It's no one else's business. That's the point. Okay, the point is it's no one else's business what you spend your money on. So things like a coordinated coin join, such as Wrpool, is a great option to move into that. And the nice part is that like these things are not scary tools. This is a coordinated, like non-custodial thing for you to do. All it essentially is that you're working with 5 to 8 other people to make a transaction. There's nothing bad about that. Okay, and I'll break that up into an example in a second. Last one is running your own node. Okay, running your own node is how you prevent the network, or you're going to get your own information. You're going to feed your own wallet balance from your data, from your information. Okay, so those are the 3 things that I want to cover today and how we're going to break those down. Okay, so this first one, I'm not going to lie, this is one of my transactions. So just don't look at the actual TXID. Okay, but this is a transaction that I made recently. All right, what it does, I know it's going to be small and you can't really see it. Okay, but these transactions, a Stonewall X2 in particular, is a 2-person, me and what's your name? Alex. Me and Alex. I said, hey man, can you help me out with a spend? I need to buy some Bit Refill cards or something. Is there another company that's sponsored by here that I'm supposed to shout out that's like Bit Refill? Okay, the Bitcoin company. It's another great one. I'm like, hey man, I need to buy a gift card. Okay, can you help me out? He said, sure. And this is what the transactions ends up looking like. Okay, what it does is it takes a bunch of inputs, okay, and we don't necessarily know whose is whose and what's what. But on the outside, we see 2 equal outputs of the exact same amount, and then we have some other change ones, okay? So what that does is like, yes, there are some deterministic links. I know it's really small and you can't see, okay? But there are 4 deterministic links and there's 11 interpretations. It's not all that high, but it is better, right? That adds doubt into whose money's whose, right? Who's the recipient and who is getting their own money back, right? One of those goes back to Alex, right? Because he was just helping me out. Okay, the other one is going to whoever I'm paying, okay? And then there is change that comes back to me, and then there is just regular miner fee, okay? So these are the things, and sorry, the 4th one is actually his change, my change, and then the 2 outputs. So a fake recipient back to Alex. All right. So what it does is it adds doubt. That's what the blockchain is all about. If you want to be private, it's not about necessarily being perfect. It's not necessarily about not having a blockchain. It's about adding doubt, added doubt into the blockchain. That's what this is all about. So this is a 2-person collaboration where we pay someone else. All right. This next one is a stowaway. Okay. Has anyone heard of stowaway? I know you have. So stowaway is, has anyone heard of pay join? Show of hands, pay joins of some type. All right, so pay joins are what? Who can summarize it for me? I'll jump down. My man, all right, I like this. This guy's got a full on bun right now. Or not bun, but ponytail, I got you.
Pay join is when the recipient shares a UTXO input. So you're kind of obfuscate that there's actually a payment and you break the common ownership input heuristic.
Man, That was perfect. Do you work for one of these cool companies? No, I'm just kidding. That's perfect. Yeah, give him a round of applause. Wait. Do you go to LA Bitcoin meetups? Was he the guy that was there when I did mine? Oh, okay. There was a guy that looked similar to you. But he's exactly correct, right? So what this actually is that me and another person have decided this. I said, hey, Alex, I'm going to pay you for helping me out, okay? And so what we do is we work together to create a transaction that looks like, hey, this is actually, it might not look like a normal transaction, but this is actually something that happens on a regular transaction. We had 3 inputs, 2 outputs. When we have 2 outputs, that's normally a spend, right? You're paying someone, and then you have change. That is common ownership heuristic. However, with this one, you don't know that this is a coin join. You also don't know how much money was actually sent. So it hides both the amount and the fact that it's a coin join. And I'll be honest, if you've never done one of these, it's on Sparrow, so you don't have to be an Android maxi like myself. But I highly encourage, whether it's on testnet or whether it's in real life, try this out, because it's honestly, it's one of the coolest things that you can do is find out. I believe Heddywook, who's over here, shout out Heddywook. Me and Heddywook did, he was one of my first stowaways that we just kind of played around with it. And it was like, we played a game called How Much Money Did I Send You? And it's a really fun way to really figure out how this works and how hard it is to just interpret it on the blockchain. So again, what are we doing? Adding doubt into the blockchain. All right, so our next one, we talked about cleaning out the history of the past. This is actually something that's good for regular users. Does anyone here have a small business where they like receiving Bitcoin? Okay, kind of, sort of. Not yet. You plan on it, right? That's why you're here? My man. All right. So this is good, right? Because just like how I don't want, as a recipient, I don't want anyone else to know my past. What Wrpool does, right, is it takes 8 participants, puts them all together, and then we throw all our money into a big pot. We say, hey, we're all going to pay this, and we're all going to get the same amount out, okay? It's devised of 2 people that are paying for the fee, and then everyone else is what we call free rider. So you get free remixing forever, for as long as you keep yourself in there, okay? On the outside, we have you're one of 8 people. And anytime, because you're one of 8 and we don't know, anytime that anyone else gets a remix, you also gain additional anonymity sets. So it grows and grows and grows. All right, the idea is that it's like smelting gold, okay? You really don't know. You have zero doubt. You have zero ability to determine which input was Alex's, which input was mine, which input was Heddywook's, okay? There's no way to actually determine it after this transaction happened, okay? That's a really big number, 9,934,583, something like that. You guys can fact check me. But that's how many interpretations that we possibly have that this transaction could be. Okay, so we're breaking all of the past history, right? All those deterministic links of the past are gone. Okay, that's important for when I receive Bitcoin, and I don't want them to know what I have. I don't want them to know what I spend my money on. And as a business owner, this is actually something I've been shilling here, because I'm a big proponent of this circular economy and how do we start to move in this world where, you know, a year from now, just to put it in perspective, this is why using the tools is important, right? A year from now, what do we have in the States? Oh, you're saying 5 minutes? That was nice. I thought you were raising your hand. I'm joking. What's happening in November next year, 2024? Election year. Okay. Is it easy to say that we have one of the most divisive years coming up? Okay. What happened in January 6th, 2020? Bad things happen, right? These are all political, whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. The reality is this, is that we could all end up in a position where the things that you're doing today that are legal and okay are all of a sudden determined illegal and bad. Your bank account shut down. How are you going to operate? How are you going to start to take your steps towards privacy, being able to actually survive? And that's why small business is important. So your business, what's your business? I'm going to give you a shout out. I got you. It's online what? Online IT, consulting type stuff. Okay, so online consulting stuff. That's actually not a bad thing to start being in Bitcoin. They already know. So online consulting, right? but you don't necessarily want them to know. You don't want to necessarily be associated, because if I'm a privacy node guy and I'm saying, hey man, I'll pay you in Bitcoin, but you don't know what I spend my money on, right? And I was telling this the same thing to the meat guys up there who's selling the meat sticks. I was like, hey, it sounds like it's just meat, right? Most people, it's okay. But I'm saying this as a privacy node guy who has to accept Bitcoin. I don't necessarily know what people whose intention is to buy a privacy node, what they spend their money on in the past, right? That could tie back to me. So what do I need to do? I need to break the heuristics. I need to break all my ties. So business owners, it's important to break all your ties, because just like cash, if it was cash, you wouldn't have to worry about it. No one cares, right? But the problem is we have this public blockchain that ties every UTXO together, okay? What they spend their money on, all of a sudden one day a UTXO gets flagged, gets traced to you, and then boom, you're in trouble, okay? So that's where Wrpool comes in. And this is where I show my company for a second. But using a full node, it doesn't need to be a Ronin Dojo Tonto. However, they are pretty fucking badass, if I might say. However, using your own full node is like the quintessential thing. As you start to grow, how many people here run a node? Show of hands. Damn it, all of you. You guys are all fucking hardcore Bitcoiners. That's why you said you want to come to the privacy talk, and then I gave you the basics. I was hoping that all these regular normies who didn't know what nodes are would at least like get to hear. I don't care if they buy a node, to be honest. But, so I'm not going to sit on this slide for very long. Okay, you guys understand the points of running a node, all right? The idea is that you start to take your own privacy back, be sovereign, don't rely on other people, because why? Hold on. Looking back, right? Looking back, this is straight from Satoshi, right? What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust. Okay, allowing any two willing parties to transact with each other without the need of a trusted third party. It's something that we've moved away from. Is anyone else, how many people are here from like 2018 or earlier? Shh, they didn't know. No. No, but as a person that's been in since 2016 myself, that's what I've consciously seen throughout the years, is saying, oh, it's okay. It's okay to have custodial services. It's not that bad, right? In the name of what? In the name of mass adoption, the name of whatever, it's okay to some extent, whether it's Lightning, whether it's whatever. Custodial services have become more and more common. There's no need to trust third parties. Don't do it, okay? Start to take those steps yourself, because one day you're going to have to be in a situation where you can't rely on anyone but yourself. That's why this is important. I got you. I see the picture. It's a good picture, right? I'll send you a slide. Don't worry. Okay, so let's recap. Running your node just means that you become your own bank, right? You enhance the network privacy of the entire blockchain, and then also your node, your rules for user-activated soft fork. I hope we don't have to have another soft fork. It might happen, but that's something I don't have like 5 minutes for, so I apologize. So, what tools can we use, right, when spending to protect ourselves from the receiving party? So, we're spending to someone. How do we protect ourselves? Someone raise your hand. Come on. I know I just said it. Mix first. I like that. Who said stowaway? Of course you would. What's the other one? Pay joins. Okay, I'll take it. Exactly, right? Do some sort of coordinated peer-to-peer coin join service together, right? Next one is, can we break any ties? How do we break the ties of the past? How do we do that? Wrpool, I heard you. Mixer. Don't say just mixer. It's not necessarily all mixers. We're not all the same. And also, mixers is like a synonymous term with a custodial mixing service. Who said, you quiet back there. You quiet back there. So, and how do we truly become our own bank? Run your own node. So, we talk about pay joins, stowaways, right? Whirlpooling, and then run a node, be your own bank, okay? All these things are gonna be important. Take these steps. If you haven't taken these steps and started to take things seriously, I'm telling you, you have 12 months until I'm like confident that things are gonna start to shit's gonna hit the fan, to be frank. I apologize if there's any kids in here. I don't think there are, but shit will hit the fan at some point in the next 12 to 16 months, 18 months. Things are gonna get bad. So start to take things seriously. Start to learn how to use the tools. All right. I did put a shell code up here. All right. If anybody doesn't have a node, which everyone apparently in here has a node, I don't necessarily know if I believe that, but if you don't have a node, PB23, 15% off for any Tontos. And again, I'm Zelko. And if you don't run a node, I don't care. If you don't buy a Tonto, I'll be 100% honest, even though I have that up there. I really don't care. My whole goal in Bitcoin as a whole is to make everything better, make you all sovereign, educate people to start to learn to do stuff yourself. Because as a person that didn't know anything, right? I have a great person that's back here that taught me. It was my lifeline when I was coming up and I was learning how Dojo worked and how Docker worked. Mr. Hash back here, who works for Swan now, he was my lifeline. Okay, that's what we're all here for. Okay, I'm here for you all. I don't care if you necessarily buy a node. It's great if you do. It helps support my team. That's small, false company, but I'm here to help you all get better, right? I'm here to help everybody to be able to use Bitcoin and to use the tools. So my DMs are always open. If I don't respond right away, please don't yell at me. I do have like literally 2 jobs in school and everything else, but I always make time because it's important. We're all in this shit together. Otherwise, it's just, how else do we make this magic internet money work? Right? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. And use the tools.
Oh, hi. Do you have your ticket to the next Pacific Bitcoin Festival? Join us as we shine a light on the best of Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. Visit pacificbitcoin.com for the best deal on tickets now.